Donald Trump, you've not gotten back to me, but that's okay. I have faith in you. And one day, well, it can be tomorrow or whenever, hey, you get the privilege of visiting me, I think. So, just let me know. Reply in the comments section if you'd like to schedule a visit. I'm going to keep trying to get a hold of you because you have the ability to have more power than what you've got. You need to establish a Yasukuni shrine, and you need to establish American state Shinto. Yasukuni shrine is the dwelling place of the war dead in Japan. It's what motivated the Japanese to get inside torpedoes and guide those torpedoes to their destiny full of explosives and then detonate them against American ships. Yasukuni Shrine is what motivated the kamikaze pilots, 3,000 of them, to fly into American ships, and they even had a submarine they had suicide submarines full of explosives that went and blew themselves up at American ships, and they had a suicide battleship that just rammed into an American ship and just blew up. And all of those suicides told each other with a grin, "We will see each other again at Yasukuni Shrine." You see, we don't have that kind of fervent desire to die. They saw their emperor as a god. And if you establish American state Shinto, you will be what Hirohito was for the Japanese. You, Donald Trump, will be for America. And I saw you wearing the crown of Holy Roman Emperor. Now, the Holy Roman Empire was not Roman, and neither is your empire Roman, but it is what the Holy Roman Empire was, or more importantly, it's what the Roman Empire was under Constantine. It's a Christian empire. Let's keep it Christian, by the way. But that doesn't mean we can't have a sexual revolution. You see, the thing is, bikinis and lingerie and miniskirts, that can all be redeemed. And God knows how much us men like that fashion. So we need a Christian sexual revolution, but it doesn't have to be Christian. Just make it the Shinto sexual revolution, the Shinto Song of Solomon, where pornography is outlawed, but something replaces it, where nudity that is approved by you, or I have a good feel for these things. You could let me be in charge of the Shinto Song of Solomon, because I'm Ted Bunny, Bunny, because my Chinese zodiac is a bunny, and I communicate with Ted Bundy victims, and they would love to see you. It was it was Pope Leo IX in their presence that crowned you Holy Roman Emperor, but it started with Denise Nasland, a victim of Ted Bundy who was helping out a poor man who was pretending to be injured. Well, it doesn't end there. Her mother was sorrowful and left her room exactly as it was when she was alive and treated Denise like she did when Denise was alive. And Eleanor Rose kept the house, she turned the house into a Shinto shrine to Denise Nasland. You couldn't call it a Catholic shrine because the Catholic Church only enshrines canonized saints, whereas the Shinto religion canonizes everybody. In Shintoism, at Yasukuni Shrine, there's Christians, there's probably Muslims, there's atheists, there's Shintoists, there's Buddhists, I'm assuming every monotheistic branch. I'm sure there's Jews there. Everyone who dies for the emperor is enshrined. It doesn't matter if they have any religious belief. It doesn't matter if they're holy. They can even be a war criminal. a Class A war criminal, because in Shintoism, the beautiful thing about Shintoism is in Shintoism, they say that all the spirits, especially the bad ones, need our love. And when you love a bad spirit, you can prevent that spirit from harming you, and that spirit can even do you some favors, because bad spirits need our love. Class A war criminals need our love. And I hate Islamic terrorists, but I believe that I saw these two beautiful young ladies that left Austria, that fled Austria to become members of ISIS, and they thought they were fighting the jihad, and these were beautiful, gorgeous young ladies, Caucasian women, and they were about 16, 17 years old, and they were turned into sex slaves, and I don't know how one of them died, but one of them was chased down when she escaped and beaten to death with a hammer. The other one died, I don't know, it was like inconclusive. The ISIS claimed American bombs killed her, but I'm sure that wasn't the case. ISIS, no, they hated Europeans. And that's a very important thing that you are showing the world, Donald Trump, is that the Islamic faith is not, it's not like Christianity, which says, let those who are without sin cast the first stone. It's not like Christianity, which says that, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you and turn the other cheek. No, Muhammad was a terrorist, and Barack Obama did us a great disservice and drove me insane when he said we can't call the ISIS, we can't call them Islamic terrorists because they hijacked a peaceful religion. That is such bullshit. That's why I didn't even like you, Donald Trump, but I knew I needed to pray for you more than I've ever prayed for anybody, because you weren't politically correct, and because I saw the crown, Holy Roman Emperor, upon your head. And this was when there were still, this was so early on, I was in jail, this was really early on. This was, you still had all the Republican candidates going against you, and nobody thought you would be up against the final Democratic person running nominee. Nobody thought that. Everyone thought you were a joke. Everyone thought you were, some people just thought you were a setup for Hillary Clinton to win, but you were the trump card. You're that lowest card, the unqualified card on the table that takes all the other cards. You lived up to your name prophetically, and there's somebody else who did that as well, and that was Benito Mussolini. Benito means blessed. Mussolini means Jacob. Jacob was the most blessed person in Scripture. He received the greatest blessing that totally rocked the world's history, totally changed the world's history. Jacob received the blessing Israel, but Jacob also received the blessing that was intended for Esau, his brother, and his mother Rebecca broke the rules, Donald Trump, to get him that blessing. And Isaac gave the blessing to the son he thought he was supposed to give it to, or he thought he was giving it to the right person. But Jacob was a twin, and he just needed to have some extra hair on his arms, so his mother provided him with some lamb's hair, and so his arms would have the texture of Esau's, and she dressed him up in Esau's finest garments, gave him the scent, Esau's best scent, Isaac's favorite scent, cooked him up a dish that would be most delightful to Isaac, and Jacob just went in there relying on his mother. That's why the Blessed Virgin Mary needs to be promoted by the Protestants as well, because Rebecca prefigured the Blessed Virgin Mary, and Benito Mussolini died Feast of St. Louis de Montfort, and it was from Louis de Montfort that I learned everything I knew about Jacob, and it was Benito Mussolini that led me back to the devotion of St. Louis de Montfort. And everyone thought St. Louis de Montfort was a nut because he said that devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary is more important even than devotion to Jesus Christ. And that sounds blasphemous, but it's actually, it makes sense if you, take it, if you know how to interpret Rebecca and Jacob, how Rebecca's work got Jacob the blessing, Isaac's favorite dish. Rebecca got Isaac really drunk and provided him his favorite dish, but it was through the hands of Jacob, so that Isaac thought the work in Jacob's hands was actually Rebecca's work. And Isaac was the greater person. And Louis de Montfort says, and Louis de Montfort's a great saint. He knows what he's talking about. Louis de Montfort said that Isaac represents God the Father. Okay? And God the Father, in this particular case, didn't get to anoint and bless his favorite. It went to Rebecca, the woman, the feminine wiles, the woman who pulled all of the right strings. And Rebecca said, if he finds out and he curses you instead of blesses you, let the curse fall on me. So she was going to take all the consequence for it as well. That's what a good Jewish or any Christian female, any of those women in heaven and purgatory will do that for their beloved Jacob. And Mussolini means Jacob. And Jacob became Israel, and it was Israel where fascism first began. Donald Trump, you need to take control. If Benito Mussolini can get control of the cradle of democracy, Italy, Rome, without shedding blood and without requiring any votes, how much more can you, with a military that could just make Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler combine both cream in their pants, how much more could you, with the military on your side, how much more could you get control of America and turn it into your fascist dictatorship? That doesn't mean you take away the right to vote. But there's ways you can get the spirits to meddle in your elections. You can, through propaganda, do so much more than what you're doing. You were a demigod when you got elected, and now I don't like to see that kind of slipping away, but it sort of is. Some of the people that voted for you, have lost interest in you, and we need something fresh, Donald Trump. And I can do for you wonders, because I have all kinds of points with the big man upstairs, but also the big woman, the Blessed Virgin Mary, but a lot of women, the victims of Ted Bundy, they love you, Donald Trump, because they introduced me to what fascism was before I even knew who Benito Mussolini was. And then he became our Caesar, because I called all the dead people I prayed to Holy Roman Empire. And I called them monarchs of various countries. And I consecrated various countries to their hearts, kind of like the Blessed Virgin Mary asked for the Pope, in union with all the bishops, to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart. Well, I went through that same process, begging the popes and all the bishops to consecrate various nations to the hearts of these women that I was praying to. And they're not just victims of Ted Bundy. Meadow Pollock is a victim of 17 dead, 17 wounded the day I moved into room 17. And 17 was a number in fascist Italy that you didn't put 17 floors on your building, because what we see as superstitious regarding the number 13, that's what the number 17 was in fascist Italy, because the number 17, if you take it with the Roman numerals, what it spells in Italy, if I remember correctly, is something along the lines of I have lived, meaning it's I have lived, past tense. So it's associated with ghosts. And in fascist Italy, the number 17 was associated with a lot of things. It's also the numerical equivalent of Leah. Leah was one of the spouses of Jacob. The name Leah, if you add L plus E plus A plus H, that is the, it equals 17. According to the chart, the table of, that I have done the research with, at least the first table I stumbled onto about those letters, and it was Leah who was the first spouse of Jacob. But Jacob always rejected Leah, and she symbolizes rejection. And so I ran into Leah, and I thought, well, Mussolini the first, Jacob, got with Rachel and Leah, and then Mussolini the second, Benito, got with Rachel. Both of them loved Rachel as their love at first sight. Neither of them wanted Leah. So I decided I will seal the prophecy and I will get with Leah. And I tried really hard to get with her, and she rejected me. So now it's Leah's turn to do the rejection. So I jumped off a 3-story building, breaking multiple bones. But I survived. And I was in a wheelchair for 10 weeks, and they were having to restrain me to keep me in that wheelchair because I had these lovely ladies in heaven holding me and nursing me back to health. They didn't abandon me. I thought they had, it felt like it, and I couldn't take the rejection, and I just wanted to die because I thought I was delusional. But these women didn't reject me, and I went limping back to higher ground, and I continued to try to get with Leah. And we played card games, and we went on walks and things. But then when I wanted to be more than friends, she rejected me again, and she established a restraining order. Well, it wasn't a restraining order at first. First she was just trying to ignore me, and then I kind of tracked her down, and I visited her at work, and I just put my chair in front of her chair and her desk, so she couldn't get up and walk out. And I just sat down and had a few words with her and kind of shared with her how much suffering I'd gone through, how many broken bones and the torn meniscuses and torn ACL I went through on her behalf, and how much more I would suffer for her. She didn't care. And then she gets a restraining order on me, just adding far more pain, putting that salt in the wounds. Well, the thing is, I deserved it, and Leah was the most influential woman to ever walk the planet. More influential than the Blessed Virgin Mary, because the Blessed Virgin Mary had everything handed to her. The Blessed Virgin Mary she was God's Ark of the New Covenant. She had Joseph, she had a happy marriage, she had a son who was loyal to her and pleased her and was sinless. Whereas Leah, her sons were kind of assholes. They, tried to kill Joseph, and they threw him in the bottom of a pit. And Leah was, she didn't have a happy marriage. She was always rejected. With every baby, she thought, now my husband's going to love me. Now Mussolini, now Jacob's going to love me. And she hoped in vain. And Rachel even died, and Leah was all that Jacob had left. And he still didn't, there's no evidence he loved her. And so it was right that eventually Leah should do the rejecting. And it was all prophetic. But I still have plans of getting back with Leah. You can help me with that, Donald Trump. You can make something of me. You can hire me. Make me your indentured servant. At first I said slave. Well, I'll be your slave. I'll take a vow of obedience. Just like I was a monk. I was a Carmelite monk, okay? A monk takes a vow of obedience to its superior. You be my superior. I'll take a vow of obedience to you, which means I have to obey you in all things. And I've been wondering what the will of God is. I want to obey somebody. I got out of the monastery, and now it's like I don't know who to obey. And I can't figure it out on my own. But you, Donald Trump, even if you fail with the election, I'm still your slave. I'm still your property. I'm still your possession. For you to do with me as you will. And you don't have to pay me because I'm your property and possession, and you should be able to shoot me. I give you permission to shoot me. Now, if you can just get that, the government, the law to approve of you having permission to shoot me, that would be great. And then you should have permission to whip me if I get out of line. You should have permission to beat the living daylights out of me if I disobey you. But I don't think we're gonna see too much disobedience on my end, because Donald Trump, you're the demigod. I don't even know why I like you, because you're totally not Christ-like. You're totally arrogant, and you're totally narcissistic, and it's like you tell these governors, you call them jerks and tell them they've got to bring in the military and do everything, or they're jerks, and I love it, Donald Trump. That's wonderful. I mean, you're an asshole. But I want to be your propaganda minister. I want to create propaganda for you. I want to create videos for you. I want to, I want to figure out how to, get that next person. I mean, you're getting up there in age, Mr. Emperor, and we need to know who's going to come after you. We need to keep America fascist, Donald Trump. And you are a fascist. You just don't realize it. Read the doctrine of fascism. It's spiritual government, it's religious government, it's austere government, it establishes law and order. Fascism, and you know what? I don't even know why I want law and order, because I'm a criminal. I stabbed a guy twice in the chest with a butcher knife. I'm off probation, by the way. I'm a rehabilitated man, but I'm a repeated offender. Multiple felonies. Actually, no. As an adult, I've only got one felony, but as a kid, I had multiple felonies. My criminal record started when I was 12 years old, and it's gone until I quit drinking and until I quit using dextromethorphan. Poor man's PCP. But Donald Trump, even though I'm a impoverished man and I live in a black neighborhood and I lost my virginity to a black girl, and I've never even screwed a white girl. I've only done minorities. But Donald Trump, we can figure out how to, that's irrelevant, whether I've screwed minorities or Caucasians. However, I think it could do you a lot of good, because I could really stir up a lot of the African American vote, because you have done more good for the African Americans than any president since Abraham Lincoln. And I'm from the Twin Cities. That's where George Floyd got killed. And every time I make a YouTube video for you, it gets deleted. My last YouTube channel got deleted, Donald Trump, because they don't want anything that they consider fascist, or they don't want anything that they consider anti-Muslim. They don't know what they're asking for. Muslims have been trying to conquer Europe century after century after century, and Muhammad was a terrorist who cut off an enormous amount of heads. ISIS cuts off heads because Muhammad cut off heads. And you need to remove Omar because she spoke highly of Al-Qaeda. Remove her. I love minorities. I love black women. Omar needs to go. She's a danger. She is a threat to America, and she hates America. And the leftists, they hate America. It's either we vote for Donald Trump or we are voting for the Soviet Union. We are voting for communists. If we do not vote for Donald Trump, we are voting for the death of Western civilization. Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. Donald Trump, you need to also consider who's gonna come after you. You're like the Emperor of Star Wars, only you're a good Emperor. You're not totally you're not totally for the dark side, but you are kind of a dark figure, and you are kind of, you're what I call an anti-Antichrist. An anti-Antichrist resembles the Antichrist. An anti-Antichrist is somebody who is, not very Christ-like, yet has a following like Christ, and who is treated like he's a savior. And if you Google Donald Trump is Jesus Christ, you'll see all kinds of images of you with long hair and looking just like our Lord Jesus, and you'll see all kinds of, you'll see funny GIFs like with Jesus holding suitcases saying, Obama kicked me out, but Donald J. Trump has invited me back in. Keep your unflinching loyalty from these Christians and become a cult figure, Donald Trump. Establish a cult and make it American State Shinto. American State Shinto is compatible with Christianity because the Japanese religion of Shintoism is 100% compatible with Christianity because there's no dogmas to Shintoism. Shintoism, they want to make it so that nobody divides. So there's no scriptures within Shintoism. No scriptures, no dogmas. It's the perfect state religion for America, our wonderful nation that is so diverse. To have American State Shinto would be so beautiful because we have so many religions, and Shintoism can be polytheist, it can be monotheist, it can be compatible with any religion. Some Shintoists are monotheistic, some are polytheistic, some are Buddhist, some are everything. The only thing Shintoism's not really compatible with is militant atheism or communism. Shintoism is very anti-communist. Therefore, Shintoism is very anti the Democratic Party. Shintoism is extremely patriotic, Donald Trump. You've got to consider Shintoism. Shintoism is the most patriotic religion in the world. There's nobody who has had so many people willing to die for them and so difficult to surrender as those who are Shintoists. And the Emperor of Japan is the oldest dynasty in the world, and that's like the Shinto Pope. That is like and you've met with the Emperor of Japan. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You were like the first world leader to meet with the new Emperor of Japan. But you need to be Emperor Donald Trump. Establish American State Shinto and be more than the United States president. Be the Emperor and Holy Roman Emperor of the rising sun. Let it be that the flag of Imperial Japan can be a more than just a flag for Japan, but it's the sun. Napoleon said, I would not want to worship anything other than the sun because the sun clearly, provably, verifiably gives life to everything. Nothing can survive without the sun. And so the flag of Imperial Japan, the rising sun, it is a flag for, it should be an ecumenical religion. It should be a holy icon. You should be Holy Roman Emperor of the rising sun, because the United States is what Rome was for its time. Only the United States, if we were to resurrect the borders of the Roman Empire, it would not equal the economy of the United States. The military might be a little greater, but the economy of the entire Roman Empire nowadays, if we were to resurrect its borders at its height, would not equal what the United States of America is. You've got so much power, Donald Trump, but I don't want to see you lose it. We can't be having... I'll tell you what, get with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump. do whatever you can to get with the Russians. Be in bed with the Russians because they can meddle with the elections, I'm sure. And pray to the aborted fetuses that they will meddle in elections. And pray to the spirits of all the women that are raped by Muslim gangs in Europe that have created a rape epidemic. Pray to their spirits that they will that they will meddle in elections because those women want you to be elected, Donald Trump. You are the best thing for African Americans, but you're the best thing for women. Women haven't recognized this. Neither some African Americans have, like Candace Owens and a lot of African Americans are recognizing that you have done more good for the African American population than any president since Abraham Lincoln. It's true, Donald Trump. You were not just talking out your ass when you said that. You can prove it. Yes, the African American unemployment, it's at a historic low. That is beautiful, Donald Trump. You are a friend of the black man. Now we need more people to bring this good news, the good news of Donald Trump, the gospel of Donald Trump, the Shinto gospel to minorities. And I believe I can do that, Donald Trump, because I've grown up in black neighborhoods, actually. And I've lived in jails around, predominantly African American people. And, I'm really experienced with how to deal with African Americans, even those who hate your guts. I'm very experienced with how to deal with Muslims too, because I've even got on the train and just told Somalian Muslims, could you have me get off in the most dangerous place for a white guy to get off at? And they told me where to get off at, and believe it or not, it's called the West Bank. Could you imagine that? It's called the West Bank, and it's all Muslim. Yeah, the trains have a spot where they have a train station where the sliding doors open up, and it's called the West Bank, same name as the area in the Middle East where the Israelis have walled up the Palestinians, and I don't feel extremely sorry for those Palestinians because they need to quit launching rockets at Israel, and they need to quit with their jihad, and they need to quit with their honor killing, and they need to quit with stoning adulterers and all their bullshit. At least we've got a ally of democracy in the Middle East. But we need to put democracy up a notch. We need to mix the doctrine of fascism with the United States Constitution. Fascism is so much more spiritual than the United States Constitution. Fascism